Let's look at how to create a unique paint spatter portrait in Affinity Photo on the iPad. Now this is something of a difficult exercise, and don't be surprised if you have to repeat it half a dozen times, because for some reason it seems to be a feature of the iPad. It's reasonably difficult to get right. But here we go. So import your portrait image and duplicate the selection. Make a copy and lock the background image and deselect the original. Switch to the selections persona, and you can see there I've got that little purple circle highlighted. You'll note the layers. I've already got a masking layer created in both of those, but just ignore that for the moment. Now, starting out with the portrait, use the Smart Selection Brush tool, just on the left there, to select the portrait of the person, not the background, but the portrait of the person. And you can see the little dotted lines around there indicating that it's been selected. Now, apply a mask layer. Tap on the plus sign there and select Mask Layer. And it will effectively remove the background from what you've selected. Very neat. And that places the mask layer there. You can see it in the layer next to the original image. Open the command menu, that's those three dots at the top, and tap on Deselect. That removes the crawling ants. Again, that's still available from the selection persona. And you can see I've got the layer expanded. It's got the background and the mask below it. The mask adjustment is showing in the layer. The original is locked and deselected. Just ignore that layer that's above that for the moment. It's one I've added in preparation. Add a threshold adjustment. So you go to Adjustments and select Threshold. Adjust it to about 30% for nice results so that the black outline is not too overwhelming. So you can see in that layer you've now got background, mask and threshold adjustment. You may notice I've already created my paint splatter layers and grouped them, leaving them unselected for now. Drag the paint splatter layers group down to just above the threshold layers. There are 3 groups of 6 layers in each of the final group. So that paint spatter group there that you can see unselected at the moment has 3 layers within that, and within each of those 3 layers there are 6 other layers. So there are quite a few layers there, and this can really trick you up. However, for the moment, that's the order that they look like. Create a pixel layer. That's, in other words, just press the plus sign and add a pixel layer, and fill it with white. Position it where shown within the group. The symbol will change to the clipping symbol. Even if you've created the pixel layer and it pops in above background, just drag it down so it's just below the background layer, and you'll see that it has that little symbol in it that indicates it's within a mask layer. Switch all of the layers on except the last locked layer. You must ensure that all layers are sub-layers of the top background layer. You'll know if you've done it wrong because the colours will not display. Now you can see the little down facing arrow next to the word background at the top, and there's a greyish line all the way down until you reach the lower background. If any of those layers are not within that area, not within that group of layers, you will run into trouble. Now this is not the most effective grouping that I've done, because there is a trick with the colours, the swatches themselves, and we'll get to that. Colour selection layers determine where your colours appear and at what intensity. Notice this layer. You can see I'm in group 2, and I've selected the first layer in group 2. the selected layer spatter is not even displaying because the panel has moved outside the canvas. So of course you're not going to see whatever's on that layer. And you have to be careful that you have the right layer selected and the little icon selected, otherwise nothing will work. So let's create the colour layers using the brush set HMS-Splatter1, and that's available free on the internet. And you can see the URL there, HTTPS, etc. Go to that and download your spatter brushes and install them in Affinity Photo for iPad, or Affinity Photo on the desktop if you like. I'm assuming at this stage that you know how to install your own brushes, but that's another exercise. It's another video I've done if you want to look it up. So select your first brush and a nice bright colour, and there we've got red, and the first brush is selected, and apply one splatter to the layer. That gives us one layer. Now basically you repeat this 18 times. 3 layers, or 3 groups with 6 layers in each. Add 4 more blank layers to the layer panel, and each of these we will place a new individual splatter. Rename each layer. You can see I've got the red one there, then there's layer 3, 4, 5, 6, and so on. Why so many splatters? This gives you the freedom to adjust the colours without having to continually create new layers. Start with the bottom blank layer and add a different splatter and colour to each one. And you can see that I've got them all up there. Red, blue, green, purple, and I forget the name of that colour, it doesn't matter. Your splatter will look something like this when you're finished. Put all of your splatter layers into a group and rename the group Group 1. Make 2 copies of the group folder and rename them Group 1 copy, and Group 1 copy number 2. And you can see they're all the top one selected, everything's within that bounding box. The result should look something like this. There's all your groups with all the layers in. And they're slightly different because, as you're aware, within each group and layer you can adjust the position, shade, tone, colour of those splatters. You can in fact treat them any way you like for different effects on your portrait. It's quite difficult to get this exercise right, so don't give up, as it is possible. The location of the spatter layers matter. You can also experiment with opacity and other layer options. Be aware you can see around that there is a bounding box showing because I have a layer selected. At one stage I had one layer group showing, but all of the internal layers were off the screen. They'd repositioned themselves for reasons known only to the equipment. And I thought, it's not working. Oh my God, it's not working. But when I had a look at the layers themselves, I realised they were off centre, drag them back on, and there were the colours. So as I say, it's an interesting little exercise, this one, and one that will challenge you. But persevere with it. Some interesting results are possible. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. And there's 3 versions of the same thing. There's a girl, the chap with the microphone in one style, and some different colours on the chap with the microphone again. Thanks for watching.